Hello and welcome to another edition of Droppin' Baums with me, your host, Corey Baumeister. As always, with the lovely folks here at TCGplayer.com. So today I'm bringing you blue-red Phoenix spells here. This is a little bit of a different take on it. It has much more one-drops. It's way more focused on getting these drakes up to a very high power and kind of killing in one shot, while still having the maximized amount of capabilities to put Phoenix into plays as early as turn 3, even without Electromancer here. Electromancer leads to some vulnerability that I wanted to try to avoid, so I chose this route. Today we played against, we play Golgari, and then we play a couple different white token decks throughout the course of the 3 matches. I got my hyperlinks to any of the matches here if you want to fast forward. If you're sick of seeing Golgari, you're sick of seeing whatever match, you can fast forward. I also have my link to TCGplayer.com where I'm going to write up a short sideboard guide. And then I will have a link to a short write-up as well to the deck, along with a deck tech at the end of the episode. Okay, stay tuned. Alright, and welcome to the games here. Alright, so we won the die roll, so we are going to go first. This sound is fine. Nothing insanely great. But yeah, definitely fine. Really looking for Chart the Course and Tormenting Voices, along with Phoenixes, is kind of your ideal start. But, you know, obviously you don't always get what you want here. We're just going to burn this. We're trying to hit that third land. Since the deck runs so few of lands, you can't really wait for your cantrips to be valuable later. You have to make sure you get your value in and make your land drops. And killing an elf here is fine. But now we really want that land. If we get a land here, I have pretty high hopes that we're going to do pretty well in this game. But otherwise, we're just a bad blue-red mid-range deck if we don't start playing drakes. Chart the Course, not terrible, but not what we wanted. Especially with that. Getting Phoenix is the second best thing to a land, but yeah, we do need some work here. Alright, that's a good shock target, so we got outs here. Okay, so now all we need is a mountain, and we can bring back a Phoenix. So we're going to Cantrip. We're going to Cantrip and hope for a mountain. Yeah, we played it a little risky trying to get the Phoenix into play, but we can just kill this next turn. Yeah, this is not an ideal start, that's for sure. Alright, gets the forest. So now we have the land, one turn too late. We can't play 3 spells. And we don't really want to play like Enigma Drake right now, just because Vivian Reed could just finish it off. So we're kind of in a bad spot here. We might just be in a position where we have to try it. So we have an absurd amount of damage in our hand, even if we can connect with Enigma Drake once or twice. But we also don't want to lose the battle here, so we're just going to say go and kill some creatures. Alright, but this Golgari is a deck where you cannot just hope to just answer their threats with your answers, because eventually they play Carnage Tyrant and all you have to do is hope you're allowed to block with these, or just try to race. Find, okay. Not that big of a deal. Gonna replay that 3-2. We're just gonna have to kill it again. We're gonna kill it with a lightning strike here just because we want to eventually get back our Phoenixes. A land for Crackling Drake would be alright. Ooh. Well, we're just gonna play one of these and hope it lives. We're just gonna start playing Drakes. Now that we got the board a little bit stabilized, it's okay to start firing these off. Now we are scared of plenty of their deck right now. We're not afraid of Llanowar Elves, but we are afraid of the Eldest Reborn. That's a bad one. Chart a course. Now it comes down to the point where do we think we can get back the Phoenix, or do we just want to try to play the safe route, which is an Enigma Drake, and then go for maybe the kill next turn. So we would have 10 damage with Enigma Drake and this. So we would just need 8 more. This is 5, 6, 7, 8. So we could go for the win by playing this next turn, if it doesn't die. And I think that's worth it, just in case our opponent plays Carnage Tyrant. They just might think there's no way our opponent could kill us. And if we drew... we might still need a little work here. Vivian Reed is going to be good. So we can shock that at least. But yeah, this is not going our way. Really needed that third land on the third turn. And now a Contempt on top. Oof. Oofta. I don't think this is a game we're going to be winning. We'll start with Chart the Course. And we're not going to be able to get to 3 spells here. I think we're just going to pack them in. Alrighty. Alright, against green-black here, we want to bring in the Beacon Bolts to make sure we can deal with Wild Growth Walkers. And Dive Down because it just protects us against basically all the removal except the Eldritch Reborns. Cards that I don't like here are basically just Lightning Strikes. There's some mentality to bring in the Lava Coils, but especially on the play, we're just trying to be the Phoenix deck and then just back it up with Beacon Bolts. So we'll just submit this. I would like to play first. Yep, this hand is fine. I love hands like this because it's all setup cards and eventually it gets you there. If you have a hand full of like what we had before, it's usually fine if we can play our Drakes on time. But if you can't, it gets to be a little harder and you're just kind of a blue-red creature deck that doesn't usually do too well if you stumble at all. Or if they answer your threat on a one-to-one basis. So we're going to opt here. We are going to keep this. It increases our spell count, and we're just very likely to be shocking this card next turn. Yeah, we're just going to shock this turn. Next turn, we'll discover. And then the turn after, hopefully, we'll be getting some Phoenixes into play, is the plan. Of course, that does not always work out like that. Alright, Druid. So we're going to start with this. We would start with Tormenting Voice, but that's only if you already have a Phoenix in your hand. So we don't want any lands. And there's the Phoenix. So next turn we have a Phoenix. By discarding it to Tormenting Voice and doing a double Fury here. So we are not going to play a Fury because we don't want to break up that combo there. And then we're going to get to draw a total of 4 cards there as well. Opponent gets the land. It's going to be up to 5 next turn. Now, we don't really care about Eldritch Reborn or Vivian Reed with Phoenix draws. But we do care about those kind of cards when we were to just play like Crackling Drake or something. So we're going to discard this. We are going to cast Fury. And now we can opt as well. I kind of like opt, except we'd have to shock. Yeah, we're going to play an opt. I think we'll keep an Enigma Drake here. It's not great. It's not terrible. Then we'll get on in there. Now next turn we can do something like Crackling Drake and one of our Cantrips. Just really make these Drakes gigantic by the time they hit the yard. I think almost for sure we're going to be playing Crackling Drake next turn. After you kind of, do the combo off, essentially, you usually need kind of a rebuild turn where you either play a Drake. I mean, this is ideal because you get to draw a card as well, so it really sets up for the next turn to kind of combo off again. Because that's really all we are, is a blue-red combo deck. Now, if this is an Eldish Reborn or something, okay. Contempt is very good. Alright, we're just going to do a Crackling Drake. Draw a card. We got a Phoenix. So next turn, we're going to have another Phoenix turn here. Hopefully this Crackling Drake lives, and then we get to hit for some serious points of damage. And there is a world where we can... Nope. Attacking. What would our opponent be attacking for? Moment of Craving would be my initial standout. And I don't want to walk into a Moment of Craving when I have a 6-power creature. Or it was just a sick bluff, which would be pretty impressive. Okay, so now I think we're sitting pretty good here. We're going to start with the Chart of Course, discarding the Phoenix. We can do another Chart of Course. So there's no way we can play an Enigma Drake and get the Phoenixes back, but maybe... Is there a way we can kill our opponent? Probably not unless it involves us finding another Phoenix. But that is possible, so... Yeah, we do have another thought here, because we can Beacon Bolt something. Can Beacon Bolt the Druid and play a Cantrip, and then that's still 3 spells? So, our opponent is at 9 right now. It's very, I would say, near impossible to get that lethal. So we want to be preventing our opponent from doing as much as possible, and I think that would be killing Druid. First, we'll play the Cantrip. Now, between Trample and First Strike, sometimes this really matters. In this matchup, I don't think it matters even a little bit. So, but again, in the mirror, the First Strike is insane. That's why I have 4 of these and 2 of these. But the Trample can also be great to trample over Phoenixes. So it really is a give and take here. Okay, an Opt. That might change things a little bit here. Because if we Opt and find a Phoenix and chart the course, that would be 2 more spells. So that would be 10. That would be 16. So still wouldn't be lethal. So I think preventing ourselves from dying is the way to do it here. So we'll just Beacon Bolt this. Get on in there. And hopefully our opponent just has the Moment of Craving, and that won't be enough to save him. Yep, that'll be. Alright, so our opponent has a lot more creatures here, so we want to reevaluate a little bit. Mana Accelerate creatures are super nice to kill. I think on the draw we'll take out 1 Crackling Drake for 1 Lightning Strike. I want 2 Lightning Strikes in or 2 Lava Coils. Probably 2 Lava Coils, just better against Golgari dealing with these big creatures. I think we'll take, it's either Crash Through, Dive Down, Maximum Velocity, which I really do like this card. It's a good way to just kind of get you. Or a Shock. I like Shocks against Llanowar Elves on the draw. I think we're just going to do a Lava Coil here. 5 ways to deal with mana ramp creatures is usually enough. Alright, on the draw here. Now we got the Shock for the Elf. We got a couple Cantrips and a Bird. This is a keeper. Alright, our opponent had the Elf. So we are going to shock it down. Just another Elf and a tap land. Love to kill that again. Ooh, hello. We're going to take the 2 just in case we need the red. We'll do a Tormenting Voice, getting rid of the Phoenix. And now, if we can safely bring it back next turn, aka if we find another 1-drop, we're going to do that. If not, we're probably going to play the safe play and play an Enigma Drake. Wild Growth Walker is a pain. Find Finality on top. Let's see if our opponent keeps that. If not, we're probably just going to play a Enigma Drake next turn and hope it lives. And then the turn after, we for sure have Chart the Course with 2 Cantrips to bring back the bird. Our opponent only has 2 cards in hand. Keeps the Finality on top. Okay, yep, no 1-drop, so I think we're just going to play the safe Enigma Drake here. Obviously, it walks into the Finality, but our opponent thought about it for a while, so likely doesn't even have the 6 mana to cast it. I mean, there's so many factors that makes Finality not the greatest of cards right now. And next turn, we get to bump this up to at least a 5. So we can be attacking for at least 8 next turn. Interesting. I mean, if our opponent has Moment of Craving, then it's going to die anyways. But we're still going to block here. Our opponent could just be trying to find. Which I think is fine here. Which I think is find. Our opponent's going to gain 3 more life. But then we get to attack because our life total is pretty healthy as well. Our opponent faced with a decision here because Find is great right now at bringing back 2 creatures, but Finality eventually takes down the hard-to-deal-with threats. Okay, yep, Forest is pretty good because then our opponent gets to play that Llanowar, and now can play the big stuff. Ooh! Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Okay, so we get to attack for a lot right now. So we're going to chart. Discard the Phoenix. First strike. First strike again. And we're just getting in there because that's 8, 9, 10, 11. We can likely kill our opponent next turn without anything, and we're not facing any kind of lethal damage. So we'll get on in there. Even like a Finality now is not that big of a deal. Our opponent would save 1 creature. Carnage Tyrant's a little bigger of a deal, but I think we might just have lethal here. Okay, so 15 damage. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let's just start with Cantrips. Yeah, we don't have a lot of red, so there is a chance that this doesn't work. Okay, let's think about this, because we have this game locked up here. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All we need is 4 cards to the graveyard. So if we Tormenting Voice, discarding one of these red Cantrips, that's 2. And then Warlord's Fury is 3. Discovery is 4 minimum. It could be a bunch more. So we'll start with Discovery. Yeah, this is well over lethal. We'll put them both in the graveyard because it's boosting it. We'll cast a Crash Through. We'll cast a Tormenting Voice, discarding this. And then we'll attack for a lot. More bird action coming at you. We are back for round 2 with one of my... It's early to say, but... one of my favorite decks of all time. I love playing this deck, and it's so, so good. Okay, I would like to go first, because this deck on the play is just very mean. Ooh. A 1-lander with a bunch of Cantrips in a 19-land deck. That's always a tough decision, because if we get 1 land, we're likely digging our way out of this. But I think it's a little too risky, and I think I'm going to mulligan. On the draw, I would keep this. Okay, this hand is pretty close to the same, if not even maybe a little worse, but since we're at 6, we can't go any further. Chart of the Course is exactly the kind of card we need for Phoenix. So I'm going to keep it. We're going to do some cantripping, even if we don't get our 2nd land next turn. Hopefully we can get it by the 3rd turn. That's a tough choice on that keep, and we might have made a mistake there, but I mean, that's exactly what we need. We have a bunch of them, and of course you need land first, but I don't know. We're going to give this a shot. I could just shock this, but I think we're just going to try to get lands. Regret it. All right. Another one. Okay, 1-drop central. We'll be bringing in our pyroclasms here. We can't risk it again, so we have to just shoot down one. We really need to naturally draw that second land now, because we don't want to waste any more of our cantrips to cast it, and we probably want to cast this on turn 3 anyways. At least we stop the play here. That will be flipping next turn. Unless, yeah, we can't really do much. We could just minimize damage here, which I think is probably what we have to do. Yeah, I don't like it, because now our opponent gets that third land. We have too many drakes, not enough trips. Alright, this game didn't go well. This game did not go well. Alright, white weenie. Well, this card's for sure bad. I'm trying to think here. I know we want the pyroclasm, and I know we want lava coil here. And you can't have too many removal spells, so lightning strike is really the main thing that we take out a lot of times. Oops. Other than that, I mean, lightning strike is good at dealing with the 3/3, but so is lava coil. Shocks are still very important. Tormenting Voice or Chart the Course could be something that we take out. Or a Crackling Drake here. I think I'm going to do a Crackling Drake. Okay. On the draw, we're going to go take a Tormenting Voice out, though, instead of Crackling Drake. I would like to go first and have more lands. This hand is great. I mean, you can't really complain that you didn't get enough lands, though, because that's what the deck does. It runs low on land. Now, I really think we want to take the 2 and say go and shock something. So, I mean, almost for sure there's going to be a 1-drop coming. Turn 2. Discovery on turn 2 is always your best play if you don't have exactly either Chart a Course or Tormenting Voice and Phoenix. Because then you can make that play of a turn 3 Phoenix pretty consistently. So now, with Discovery, all we're doing is try to find Phoenixes. And, you know, if you need land, sure. If you don't, discard them. But really, we're trying to find Phoenixes. Enigma Drakes. That's interesting. I mean, they're not very big right now. So I think I only want one of them. Because it's a great play next turn, but I would much rather play this by hitting a land after that. So one of them is awesome, and there is Ixalan's bindings and stuff, so I think it's reasonable. All right, we'll play the Enigma Drake, hold down the fort. This deck's got big butts, and they cannot lie. Some other Drakes cannot deny. But when a Crackling Drakes walks in... Alright, I'm done. Alright, we'll get in there for 2. Our opponent didn't have anything to do about this one. Very like... Actually here, White Weenie. One card we could be walking into right now is Seal Away. There is no point in attacking here and letting our opponent use their mana here. Defense! This deck kills in 1 turn, so there's no reason to start nickeling diming for 2 when we could lose an Enigma Drake. We want to deal them 20 in 1 turn. No thank you, would not like to fall into your Seal Away trap. Okay. Still can't get through. And we get to kill that. So here is a turn where we want to find Phoenix because we could actually set up for a big turn. So if we find Phoenixes here, not the case. So I think we're just going to keep both of these cantrips. Okay, so if there was an opt, you would want to keep these. But since they go to the graveyard, we're already cantripping by not playing it. So I think I'm just going to bin them both. If they were charter courses or something, I would probably keep them. But we're just going to do that. Because look, that gave us 6 extra power here. Plus we get to kill a Marshal. So we're attacking for 12. We're putting lethal on play next turn. You know, I mean, we're hitting big. We're hitting fast. Next game. Okay. On the draw, I like one less Tormenting Voice. And with the... I kind of like a couple more removal spells for that 3/3. We'll do one more. I like it like that. Okay. Game 3. These aren't the longest of games, that's for sure, but God, is it fun to do when you're winning. When you're losing, much less fun. Okay, this hand's fine. We got a couple cantrips, and then we have a Pyroclasm that'll hopefully blow our opponent out. Now, all we want on turn 2 for Christmas is a Chart the Course or a Tormenting Voice. So we're going to cantrip here. We got our 3rd land, though, so that's half the battle. Now, we just want to really avoid... that card. That card's so annoying for us. I think we're going to opt right away because we might get a shock. Crackling Drake we do not want. Chart the Course is something we do want, but... Now we're faced with a bit of a problem if our opponent plays Marshal here. If they play a couple more X2s, then sure, we get to have a big turn here. Okay, so we get to take them all after that Benalia comes off. Yep, there's no way we have a play other than Pyroclasm your board. Maybe our opponent will play into this somehow. Alright, we'll try to kill everything. Except Adonto Vanguards? He let the Vanguard go? Woo! I wouldn't have recommended that. Well, normally I wouldn't post videos when somebody kind of shame scoops there, as we would call it. But I think this showed a valuable lesson of the power of certain cards that we have in our deck. And, you know, the explosivity of some of the cards our opponent has in our deck. Stay tuned for our 3rd and final. Alright, welcome to our 3rd and final game here. So we're on the draw. And this hand is pretty loose. You almost never want this card in your opening hand, so it's already kind of a mulligan. If this was a Phoenix, I think I would keep this because we'd have the Tormenting Voice, but this is going to be a mulligan here. This one's fine. It's not great. We still need some help. Do not need a Drake right now. Alright, so we are going to be very likely casting the Fury turn 1 here. Bring in the Fury. Ooh. Mono white again, or a white aggro deck, I should say. Alright, we're definitely going to be opting instead because we are looking for a land specifically. One land and we can start digging here, and then we can hopefully find some Phoenixes here. This deck does highly rely on Phoenixes. If you have like 2 to 3 Phoenixes on top of your top 20 cards, it's very tough to lose. And if you have 3 to 4 Phoenixes on your bottom 20 cards, it gets tough to win, you know what I mean? So it really reminds me a lot of Dredgevine here. So that card is going to have to be killed, otherwise our opponent's going to start going nuts. Oh, so this is a card we always want to keep. But we need a land, so we can't. That's sad. Ugh, well, we found it again. Right as I say that we need 2 Phoenixes in the top and it's hard to lose, we have to bin them. Unfortunate. Alright, let's hope our opponent is running out of gas here. Not looking like it. Alright, we do want to minimize the bleeding here while still getting our deck going. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do with Shock here. Definitely not great. We need a turn where we can discard this, but we're taking too much damage here right now. So even if we top deck another land, more than likely our play is to just Lightning Strike. Ooh, that's bad. That's inevitability right there. Is not what we want to do. Yeah, our opponent is handless, but we are too far behind at this point. Especially without drawing a land out of this. Put this into play tapped. And let our opponent smash our face a little bit here. Not much we can do. I believe we'll just scoop it up here. We can shoot this, but we take 3, 4, 5. Yep. We'll scoop them up. We've had some very good game ones here. I think we've just got demolished on all our game ones. Alright, so we're going to bring in these 6 cheap removal spells. Lightning Strikes are not very good on the play. Take out Maximum Velocity again. And I think 1 Crackling Drake here. Or 1 Tormenting Voice. We'll take out a Crackling Drake. We'll run it like this. I would like to play first. I would love to keep with 1 more land. Yep, this hand's fine. So we're going to keep. We're going to keep this on top. Now we're given the choice between playing a Cantrip and just playing a land. I think we'll play the Cantrip here. We know we're drawn into a good card. Plus next turn we get to discard a Phoenix. And hopefully find some goods. We're also looking for Pyroclasm. I mean, that card, or Fiery Cannonade, I guess it's called. That card just does so much work against these decks if we can do it on time. It just stalls them to the point where they just usually cannot recover. Alright, so we're going to Torment our Voice. Okay, it's not bad. It's not too bad. Looks like next turn is probably going to be 1 more setup turn. We would need to top deck and draw into a 1-drop to make a Phoenix. Pretty unlikely. More than likely we're just going to discover. Or if we draw a Phoenix, we're going to chart. Okay. Now that is annoying. We'd also like to kill one of these creatures. Ooh, or all of them. So I think that's going to be our play now. We'll just let them hit us. Let them hit us and then let them play some cards and then Wrath, I think. So our opponent does get to save 1 of them. We can afford to take 4. Basically what we're risking right now is taking 4 damage to maximize that our opponent doesn't just empty more creatures after we Wrath. And then we're in the same boat again. Yep, sadly we gotta let those come in. None of them are pirates, though. Yep. That's a card that gets to live through it. That is not a card that gets to live through it. Alright. Instant Speed Wrath of God. Our opponent does get to keep a Marshal and a Witness token, though. But that shouldn't be enough to keep our opponent in the game. But you never know. I mean, we still have plenty of work to do. Alright, so we're going to start with a Discovery. Now, we're really looking for a 1-drop here and more Phoenixes. Ideally, we'd want a 1-drop and a Phoenix here. So, for sure not the land. Enigma Drake is not bad. It's a good card, so we're going to keep that. Now, I think we'll just play this Cantrip. And if we get a 1-drop, then cool. If not, we'll just play a land here. Then we'll go Enigma Drake and chart a course away some of the land. A little unfortunate there to not have an explosive turn after the Wrath of God, but that's okay. Now we're going to have an Enigma Drake to stand in the way. Ooh. We're going to start with that, because this could mean business. If we get 2 spells, we can even have a 2-drop spell now. But we need a 1-drop. Okay, no such luck. Now we have no spells right now, so actually that was kind of bad. We're just going to play defense with this card. Hopefully it lives. But if it doesn't live, we could easily be in trouble here. No. No. Our opponent at least doesn't get a token here, so that's not the worst. But now we really need something like a chart a course or a fiery cannonade. That's not bad. Something to draw and play defense. Well, we're going to do that again next turn. Let's hope our opponent does not have another one of those Conclave Tribunals. Just like to play some defense. Until we can start returning those Phoenixes. That's when we get to turn the corner. That's good. Our opponent... Oh, is that a Conclave still? Oof. Oofta. Okay. That card is great against us. So now it looks like we have to play 2 birds again, though. 2 birds, 1 stone. All the birds. Alright. Stop enchanting our creatures. Ooh. That's a big first striker. Oh boy. Okay, well. We gotta kill that card. Taking 4 here. Now we gotta hope to chain off these instants to get Phoenixes, maybe just for blockers, unfortunately. That's a good start. Well, that guarantees us the play here, so we're gonna do that. I think we'll crash through for first. Now a shock. We're gonna opt. Put that on bottom. Ooh. And chart a course because it's free discard because we get to discard this Phoenix. Now is he just dead? Okay, so this is going to go up to 12. It's going to take 4 down to 18. Did we just win out of nowhere? 10, 19. Oh, yeah. Oh, my. This deck is just busted. That was insane. That was insane. Well, I kind of thought we were getting 0-2'd there, but yeah, that was pretty nice. That was pretty nice. So, I mean, Conclave Tribunal is annoying for these since, you know, I mean, it's tough to answer like that. But it's not so bad where it's the case of, like, Ixalan's Binding where it shuts us down. I mean, we can't bounce enchantments anywhere in this list. We can counter them, but most of the time they're 1-drops. You know, like, they pay 1 mana for them, and it can be at any point. So it's pretty risky for that. Now, on the draw, I kind of like having a couple more answers to Benel. The 3/3 Knight, I don't know its name. Maybe just 1. I think this is what we did last round as well. Seems to be pretty good. We'll try it again. Yeah, that was nuts. Okay. This plays some defense, and then eventually gets us to offense, so we'll keep it. There's our 1 Lightning Strike. That would have been the 1 Tormenting Voice, which would have been better probably, but but we got the Pyroclasm mana now. So we can have the lightning strike in case our opponent has a marshal, or we can just set up a discovery turn next turn, which is ideal what we would want to do. Just spraying with 1-drops. So protecting that. Okay. Now this is a tough one. This is a tough one, because if our opponent plays marshal, we're going to regret not leaving mana open. And even if our opponent doesn't play marshal, we can at least kill the bodyguard so that our pyroclasms works more effectively. I think I like that. I think this is a much safer play. All we need to do is just, our opponent only has 3 cards. We need to protect our life total before we need to start setting up the Phoenix turn. So actually I think this is much better than, so our opponent didn't have marshal. So I think I am just going to kill this. Alright. Now, who knows? Maybe we won't even have to do this next turn if our opponent doesn't decide to dump stuff here. Ah, that's lame. We're still going to do it, because that's too much damage to be taken here. Yeah, all we want to be doing is preserving our life total here, so that's going to be our play. See what our opponent does here. Our opponent's going to be left with these 2 creatures. Fiery Cannonade here. Take 2. Now next turn we just really want to double discover here. Alright. No more pressure is great. Alright, I believe we have enough. We want to put Phoenixes into the yard. That's the goal. Alright, that's great. We want both of these cards. Okay. Yep, we're going to take 2. We're getting a little low here, though, so I don't like that. Discover again. Shock and chart the course. I like both these cards. And it guarantees us the Phoenix, plus putting another Phoenix into the yard. It guarantees us 2 of them next turn, without actually having to play this untapped. So that is very big. Now, Marshall is scary. Or History Benalia. No such thing. Okay, so we're going to chart. Discarding the one and only Phoenix. Now, what to play from here? I kind of don't want to... Well, no, I do want to cast Shock. So Shock is 1. I suppose the other one would be Opt. Yeah, we're going to try and Opt. Lava Coil. I think we'll hang on to this. It's not great right now, but it's not terrible. All right, we're going to shock this. Make a stand, huh? Our opponent has made a stand. We're going to play this. Tapped. We're going to get our birds back. But what we want to do with it is another question. It's either attack with both or none. Because it's pretty likely that our opponent conclaves us next turn. And we're going to win with Crackling Drake anyways, and we don't mind blocking. I think the only way we lose is if we, you know, get a little greedy here. So, no attacks. We'll do some blocking. And just get them right back. Because if our opponent likely has 1 Conclave Tribunal, and then we're okay blocking with the other. Or even that. Like, if we attacked and our opponent got to attack back for 5, like, that's not good. Now we're going to be able to lava coil that. And then we really could just cannonade to deal with the other creatures during our opponent's turn. Or more than likely just Crackling Drake and say go is probably going to be the safe play. I would love for my opponent to attack. I always want to trade with Phoenixes because I'm always bringing them back. Yeah, it would be a foolish attack in my opinion. Well, I think we're going to start with Crackling Drake. And then we're going to Lava Coil this card. And we are going to attack with one Phoenix this turn. Because very likely this is going to be the target and we would love to block. So we can get in a little bit. Yep, here's one for the Drake. And then we got one blocker still, so no big deal. We think we're sitting in a pretty good spot. And next turn we can even attack and then cannonade and then just get them back the next turn. I kind of like that. Just attack, then cannonade on my turn, and then cantrip next turn to bring them back. Yeah, we're going to do that. Because that make a stand card is quite annoying. Boom, Wrath. But mine come back. We're not going to play any of this because we're just going to make sure we got it for next turn. Now we could be afraid of Settle the Wreckage here. So I'm going to try to leave Shock available if possible, but definitely might not be. And Settle seems like quite a stretch to be bringing in with mono red. Or with mono white. Okay, that's a good one. We get to leave Shock open now. Ooh. Yep, we'll put this on top. We get to play that as well. We're going to cast Crash Through. We're going to get in there. Boom. Do you got the Settle? Nope. Can you deal with a 12-4? Your turn. I believe that's going to be the game, folks. God, I love this deck so much. I love it so much. Okay. Well, I mean, that might have been the easiest 3-0 we've had in Dropping Bombs history, and it makes sense. This deck is busted. This deck is busted wide open. Stay tuned for our deck tech afterwards, and then take a read at TCGplayer.com for my article and a short little sideboard guide, okay? Thanks for watching, and welcome to the deck tech. Well, that was a nice little 3-0 action we had there. I absolutely love the deck. I think it's insanely powerful. This version, I think, specifically has just so much explosive power that I'm really a big fan. So we'll get to the 1-drops here, which there's plenty of them. We got 4 ops. These are 4 ops and 4 shocks, in my opinion, are by far the best 1-drops. You can't really cut them. They just help your cause so much. But having so many 1-drops in different colors leaves us to playing a pretty split mana base, as you'll notice over there. But that's pretty okay with Tormenting Voice and Chart, of course. You really get to discard, let's say we have too many mountains. You really get to discard them, or too many islands, discard them. If you don't have a Phoenix, of course, because that's always your discard targets. And then we get to the spicy ones. I got 4 Warlords Furies and 2 Crash Through. I really like the cantrip ability here, but I found that the first strike ability comes up a lot more. Most of them are completely irrelevant most of the time. But there are plenty of situations, especially in the mirror, where giving your Drakes first strike to either take down some bigger angels like Shalai maybe, be able to tango with Lyras. I know they would only be able to just, kill each other, but that's better than what you do against most Lyras. Rekindling Phoenix, attacked into Niv Mizzet. It really gives you a lot of ways to profitably get through in combat. The mirror being the most important one. Plus Crash Through, if for some reason your opponent has a Murmuring Mystic token or something like that, being able to trample through with your Enigma Drakes and your Crackling Drakes is big game. And then we have one of my favorite cards here, the one of Maximum Velocity. This card is terrible most of the time because you cannot cast it on like any of your creatures if you're trying to make Arclight Phoenixes come into play, because it's, you can target your opponent's creatures, which happens sometimes. But what this card really does is get discarded early to Chart the Course and Tormenting Voice. And then all of a sudden on turn 7, you go Crackling Drake, bring this back from the graveyard, attack you for 20, good game. It's just so powerful. For 1 mana, to have 1 card where you're siphoning through your deck so much, to have something like this is just so great. We'll get on to the bread and butter of the deck, which I think is the Tormenting Voice and Chart a Course. These are what you really need on turn 2, and I should put this in the column as well. I guess can't move this on this. But Discovery and Dispersal are phenomenal as well. So some would ask, what do we cast on turn 2, Corey? What am I supposed to do? Just guess which one's better? I mean, there's so many 2-drops that give you card advantage. And there's an easy way to figure this out. Do you have an Arclight Phoenix in your hand? If the answer is yes, you want to be playing either Tormenting Voice or Chart the Course. Doesn't really matter. If you have more mountains in your hand than you have islands, you want to cast Chart the Course, because Tormenting Voice later on, because you have more red sources, is more reliably castable. Except if you played Tormenting Voice and drew a couple more Tormenting Voice, then... Oh, I'm sorry, I did mix that up. Yeah, the more red sources you have would make you want to play Tormenting Voice, because you could draw into more red cards that you could play, where Chart, of course, you only have one way to cast it there. Sorry, stumbled on my words there a little bit. So that's when you want to play a Tormenting Voice or a Chart the Course effect, is when you have Arclight Phoenix in your hand. When it comes to not having one of the birds in your hand, you always want to be casting Discovery, because not only is it getting your spell count up by casting it and surveilling cards into the graveyard, but you can find Phoenixes to automatically put into the graveyard to set up a good turn 3 where you can maybe put them into play. Then we got the ways we kill in the deck. The birds. Enigma Drake is usually something that I haven't liked. Just because it doesn't gain you card advantage, it still dies most of the time. But when you're overloading the deck or overloading the battlefield with these kind of effects, eventually they have to live. And when they live, they kill you. And then 4 Phoenixes, I would play 10 of them if I could. I mean, I would cut all the Drakes and play 11 Arclight Phoenixes if it were up to me. Even if it gets Ixalan's Binding, it doesn't matter. I've won a game where my opponent binding Enigma Drake, Crackling Drake, and Phoenix from an Abzan control deck. I just threw him in the graveyard and attacked him the next turn for the win. It was glorious. So that gets us through the main deck. Sideboard here. Firemaid's Research. Basically anything that has the word control in it you want. It's just another way to force through damage while gaining inevitable card advantage. Beacon Bolts are phenomenal. I think these cards people aren't playing enough of. It kills all the problems of the metagame, and it kills them twice. You get this card twice. You can surveil with Discovery, and not only do you not have to waste that by drawing it, you have a spell in your graveyard. It's just busted. It's just straight busted. You got your Pyroclasm for these super aggressive white decks and super aggressive red decks. They're phenomenal. Lava Coils to deal with these sticky creatures like Phoenix, Rekindling Phoenix, Arcbond Phoenix, basically any Phoenix. It really kills any bird. Anything that flies usually is what you want to be aiming this at. Also has some targets against Golgari, which isn't bad. 1 Dive Down, comes in random places, pretty good in the mirror, good against control, good against Golgari, comes in a lot. And then we have Disdainful Strokes for basically Settle the Wreckage and Wrath of Gods. Okay, I want to thank you so much for watching. I will be doing some practicing here, getting ready for GP Atlanta. So feel free to come by and say hi if you're ready to get your modern shoes on. And then we got next week in preparations for the Pro Tour. And then Pro Tour Atlanta coming to you. Some exciting times here. We'll see you next week.